Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks. And apologies that this one is a little late, but I only just got back from San Diego where I was attending TwitchCon. So without further ado, I'm sure that some of you at least are probably interested in my full opinion about the TL1 LPC, aka the Offspring tank, aka the Pretty Fly. Yeah, this is a joint collaboration between a rock band that I guess many of you will know about if you grew up in the 90s, and those of you that didn't have probably been updated about the band, considering they've been plastered all over World of Tanks inside the garage where you can listen to some of their smash hits, right? So for those of you who are looking at this tank, I'm going to approach this view in two ways. One, for the Offspring fans, I'm going to highlight some of the little things, the thing that can make you feel that this is a special tank for you. And for any of you who have absolutely no interest in the Offspring and only care about whether this vehicle is going to be competitive in World of Tanks, don't worry, I've got you covered. It's coming right up. So of course, Offspring logos on the front. They've kind of got a just different vibe. Obviously, the Offspring on the side. Okay, we've got skateboards with their albums Americana, and I don't quite know the other one, so somebody update me down in the comments below. Speakers on the back, because you know you've got to turn it up to 11, right? A drum kit on the top. You know, it's literally the full band get out here, with of course their logo on it as well. So the model, yeah, it does look rather cool. I guess there's an extra fire extinguisher, but it doesn't really come with one. You're still gonna have to pay for those in World of Tanks, as you all know. And I don't know what you guys think. 84, I guess that's when they came out, but I didn't really know about them because I wasn't born then. I was born in 87. Oh my god, I'm so young. But yeah, these guys, they got a heritage, man. 1984. They have been around. They've been around the world. Unfortunately, they weren't playing at TwitchCon, otherwise that would have been a bit of fun as well. Anyway, I don't know what you guys think about the model. For me, I think it looks pretty cool. I wouldn't say that I was the biggest Offspring fan, but maybe if I was, the model would mean more to me. But for any of you who don't like it at all, don't worry, you can take the style off, but it kind of defeats the point of purchasing the tank in the first place, in my opinion. So let's compare the TL1 to the T25 Pilot 1, the T95E2, which is a reward tank which you can get for participating in Wargaming's Recruit a Friend option. Actually, I think that system has changed, but maybe you can still get it. I don't really know. Also, the Lansen C, which is the Tier 8 Swedish premium medium tank, and the reason why I'm comparing the TL1 to the Lansen here will be made obvious when you take a look at the tank's alpha damage. That's right, the TL1 gets 280, right in the middle of 320 on the Lansen C and 240 on something like the T25 Pilot 1 or the T95E2. Now this damage advantage, it definitely feels significant when I was playing the game. Those kind of situations where you only have a chance to shoot once, it definitely feels like it's more impactful, and you can outtrade the lower alpha damage tanks like a lot of British light tanks, or even just light tanks in general, or even just medium tanks. It is a big difference between hitting for 280 compared for 240, and you will win your prolonged engagements, or shall I say your engagements where you're trading 1-for-1 with a variety of vehicles. Now that's not to say that the rate of fire on this tank is horrific. 6.82, it's not bad. But this tank has comparable DPM to the T95E2, and slightly more than the T25 Pilot 1. But look at the Lansen out there by pretty much 180 damage per minute, 10% more than the TL1. Combine that with the fact that the Lansen has 320 alpha damage, and you can see this thing isn't some kind of new big alpha king. The Lansen also has 208mm of penetration, one of the strengths of the TL1 when you compare it to the other American medium tanks, especially the T95E2. However, let's be honest, 208 is not great for a medium tank in modern day standards. Even vehicles like the Progetto has got 212, and vehicles like the Lorraine are packing 230, I believe. The premium rounds, however, on this tank are incredible. 280 alpha damage, 280mm of heat penetration. Oh my lord, and one thing that's crazy as well is the shell velocity of these heat rounds is 1,219. Woof, talk about pay to win. These premium rounds on this tank just transform the vehicle's capacity. The Lansen, for example, has 242mm of APCR pen, and its shell velocity isn't even as good as the heat rounds on this tank. So if you're willing to pay credits that otherwise you would have been making by penetrating your standard rounds to be able to gain the advantages, then yeah, I mean, the heat rounds on this tank are incredible, and that will definitely allow you to take on your Tier 9 and Tier 10 opponents, or even just some of the exceedingly heavier equal tier tanks that you will be engaging. So that's definitely something to consider when you're fighting the TL1. Also, this vehicle carries a tremendous amount of ammunition at 64, although not quite as good as the Lansen considering its alpha damage. That's more than enough to take a variety of standard rounds and heat rounds for depending on which kind of a matchup you're going to be in. Alright, so now let's move on to gun handling for the TL1. The aim time 2.3 seconds, nothing really special here, but it is better than the Lansen. The accuracy 0.38 is horrific, a lot like the Lansen as well. You're not going to be sniping at anything accurately, and when I was testing this thing out on stream, oh yeah, I feel like I'm missing a hell of a lot of shots with 0.38 accuracy. This thing is not a sniper, it's more for the mid-range, but sometimes you don't have the choice but to snipe in World of Tanks, right? And that's where this vehicle kind of falls back a little bit. Alright, so let's talk about the dispersion values. Not too bad here. It's not quite as good as the Pilot one moving, but it is as good as the T95E2 and better than the Lansen, and its turret traverse is on par with the Pilot as the best in class in this comparison. The gun depression of this vehicle is 9 degrees. Not too bad, not quite as good as the Lansen or the Pilot, but equal to the T95E2. So all in all, considering this is the same caliber gun, it's a 90mm, but it hits harder and it has better penetration on its premium rounds. The gun handling on this vehicle is okay. It's definitely not bad, and if you have a skilled crew for the vehicle, as you probably do, if you've got an American medium tank by now, then sure, this vehicle, it feels okay with regards to the gun handling, but definitely not incredible. It does feel better than the Lansen. The reason why I'm highlighting this is because it's kind of this midpoint of alpha, and I think a lot of the analysis of this, if this tank is going to be worth it, is whether you want to have the increased DPM and the increased alpha damage of the Lansen, or whether you want to try and go for the tiny little bit of gun handling enhancement that the TL1 has. Alright, so now let's move on to the mobility. It's practically identical across the board here. 50 forwards, 20 backwards, same as the Lansen. The other American medium tanks are about 10% faster forwards. But power to weight wise, the TL1 is actually pretty good compared to the other American mediums, but way behind the Lansen. Ground resistances, it's worse than the Pilot, which it kind of balances out this power to weight disadvantage, the same as the T95E2, which means this tank makes the T95E2 feel sluggish. The Lansen, however, with that power to weight, will allow you to rocket in a straight line up to that 50 km/h top speed limit. But as we can see, the tank traverse on the TL1 at 46 is phenomenal, which actually allows this thing to turn very quickly for what feels like a rather big tank. And it will outmaneuver the Lansen apart from in a straight line. So now onto the armor of the TL1 LPC. 90mm at the front, 50. It's really not going to be bouncing very much. Sometimes you might pull off some miracle bounces, but 50.2mm of side armor means that you are actually going to ricochet Soviet 152mm caliber guns because of the 3x rule. But you are not going to avoid getting overmatched with regards to your side armor from 155mm caliber guns such as are on American tank destroyers, the high tier American tank destroyers. So keep that in mind. You can side scrape against some things, but you can't side scrape against others. The turret armor, however, on this tank is fantastic at 177, and pretty much with this vehicle, and unless you get caught in this rather mighty cupola on top of the tank, you are going to be all good. And so it's definitely one of the better things about the tank, the fact that you can get the vehicle hull down, and it is going to work at least most of the time. And I don't mind just poking my turret up over the ridgeline against equal and lower tier tanks, hopefully pull off a bounce, and then pop over to give you that slightly mid-range 280 alpha damage into them. So the health points on this vehicle, 1,400, definitely not incredible, but by no means bad. And the view range at 400 is really nice. That's really nice, actually. It's better than the Pilot by 10 meters and 20 meters better than the Lansen. Combine this with a lower chance to be set on fire, we can really see what this tank is all about compared to the Lansen. The Lansen, without a doubt, is better at raw damage per minute and alpha damage, but its gun handling is worse, its mobility in a straight line is better, but its turning traverse is worse. The Lansen has way worse armor, and the Lansen has worse view range. So it kind of balances it out. It's basically a Lansen which loses a little bit of DPM and loses a little bit of alpha damage to gain the aspects that I talked about. It's definitely a different kind of tank, but if you prefer to play a glass cannon and just full on alpha, full on DPM, then the Swedish medium tank is still probably going to be the one for you. So the TL1 currently comes with the band as a crew, a lot like with Sabaton and the Primo Victoria. You can get yourself Dexter Holland, you can get yourself Noodles, you can get yourself Pete Parada, and you can also get yourself Todd Morse. Now, None of these crew members are locked to the vehicle apart from Dexter Holland, who you can't change from being a commander inside the tank. However, if you want to make Noodles a commander in a different vehicle, you could do that if you were so inclined. All of the crew come with Brothers in Arms, which is actually called Band of Brothers and has, like, I guess the rock symbol for free, which counts as a 0 skill perk and enough experience to be able to train 1 additional skill. And so if you absolutely, utterly have to have them inside your M48, after a while, they're going to catch up fairly quickly. Why is it so dark in here? Dude, we're in a tank. Yeah, of course, you're going to get yourself unique voice acting from the band itself. And so once again, if you're a big Offspring fan, I guess it's going to be pretty cool to be hearing the band members while you're playing the game. For me, some of the voice lines as we're going to be going on, I'm going to try and stop talking when I hear that maybe they're going to say something so we can try and pick up on it. You decide for yourself about whether you want to be hearing this. For me, I think it's a little bit of fun. I kind of like it. Inside World of Tanks, it can sometimes feel like it's the same thing again and again and again. To have like little additional features like this does feel like you're getting more reward for your money when you're purchasing a premium tank if you get a whole novel sound pack for the commander, as opposed to just getting a slightly different tank and paying a full price for it. Alright, so our gun handling... Okay, so, sorry, it's really hard to do this. I totally lose my train of thought when I'm trying to stop to try and let the fictional voice inside the...
Enemy armor is hit.
Tank, talk, enemy armor is hit. Okay, yeah, pretty standard stuff. So the gun handling on the move on this vehicle, definitely not too bad. As you can see, we hit the Indian Panzer there as we were approaching. And to be able to put 272 alpha damage, it definitely feels like it's more of a decent alpha damage to have on a medium tank. I don't know about all of you, but the 240 at tier 8 just doesn't really feel like it's enough, which is why a vehicle like the Lansen is just so brutal with 320. It can really rack up the damage. And why I personally prefer to go for something like a Charioteer, for example. The tier 8 British tank destroyer with that 390 alpha damage, and now they've buffed the gun depression of the tank, and the penetration is still excellent. It just feels like you've got everything to love about that vehicle. Enemy is hit indeed. Good stuff. So yeah, the alpha damage on this vehicle at 280. I really can't stress enough as to how much of a nice thing it was to have. But then again, I have played the Lansen. When I had it on the Lansen, I didn't really feel it so much. Maybe that's because the Lansen felt like it was a novel tank. There hadn't been too many Swedish medium tanks in the game apart from the Primo Victoria at that point. However, there's so many American medium tanks, especially premium ones inside the game, like the Super Pershing, like the T-55E2 that we were talking about. Also, just what else is there? I can't even remember all of them. That's the one that gets me. Penetration. Oh, like I don't know. You be the judge. I'm pretty sure.
Loader, are you doing okay?
Loader, are you doing okay? No, he's not. We've meted him up though. It just bounced off. Indeed. You decide.
Penetration.
Okay, at least he didn't giggle after saying penetration that time. That's good. I'm really happy about that. But you all decide about. What do you think? It's sort of like funny? Do you think that it's a bit cringy? Yeah, we'll just have to go for you just have to make your own decision about it. All I can really do is give you my opinion overall about the play style of the tank. I guess all of the extra stuff, like the embellished style that you can have on the vehicle, which again you can remove if you absolutely hate it. And I presume that if you were to take a different crew and put it inside this tank, that maybe you could get rid of the voice acting, but I'm not 100% certain about that. But of course...
We're stuck here.
We're stuck here. Good. Well done. We are... Not going to say anything about artillery hitting us? That's fine. Okay. Target locked. It is pretty cool. I have to admit, it is nice to have unique voice actors inside the game. It was one of the coolest things about the female crews going inside it, for me personally. Another one for our tally. Good stuff. So yeah, I have to admit, for me, the female crews going inside the game was possibly one of the best things. And I really like this. I really like Wargaming getting in voice actors to be able to voice crews. I think it's really cool. It's definitely awesome. It just... Some of the quality control on the voice lines, I'm not sure if the whole penetration ha ha ha. I get triggered a little bit whenever I hear that, as I guess all of you who are watching my stream on Thursday would have realized. But I don't know, it's hard to know where to draw the line, and I guess that's it, right? Enemy is hit, good, great, I'm happy about that. So all in all, the Offspring tank, aka the Pretty Fly, aka the TL1 LPC. How many different things are we going to be calling this vehicle? And what kind of a mouthful is it to say the TL1 LPC? Okay. What do I think about it? I mean, it's a real hard one. Part of me says that it's great because it's got that higher alpha damage and it feels like a full-blooded American. These pyrotechnics are better on stage. That's a unique one. So that's when you set someone on fire. That's a cringy one for me, at least. I don't think I can communicate. I don't think I can commentate or even communicate even right now. The last time I felt like this was when I was talking about the anime crew voices on one of those anime tanks. Oh, please somebody kill him! Thank God the T-34-100 finished him off. Right, I need to track the T-25 pilot. So here we go. It is the Offspring tank against the other American medium tank, and I'm giving him a little bit of a face hug. I shoot down on his armor, but somehow he manages to avoid. But well done, Wargaming, for allowing artillery to basically shoot into melee engagements and not get punished at all. So the GW Panther manages to finish off the pilot. He doesn't stand a chance because, of course, artillery doesn't even have to worry about friendly fire anymore. Okay, whatever. Yeah. It's just, and oh, by the way, also one game while I was playing in TwitchCon in San Diego, there was an artillery on my team who I don't know why, they're obviously trolling me for some reason. Well, not really trolling me, and they just kept shooting me the entire game, and they didn't go blue. They literally shot me about 8 times in the battle. They didn't go blue. Sure, they weren't doing any damage to me, but I thought Wargaming said that eventually players would go blue who kept shooting allies. This guy did not. After 8 shells on me, pretty much just shooting me the entire battle, did not. So I guess that was just a fake news. So, oh well, what are you going to do anyway? So yeah, I mean, it's hard to sum up this thing, but oh cool, this is a nice little like get-go that I found down here. You can actually escape safely, because you used to be able to go down the slope, but you can't really do that anymore, so you've got to watch out for that. So I get spotted on the way in, so I think there's a Jagdpanther who's above me, so I try and fire blind to be able to see if I can snag him. I'm going to make my way around the corner and see if we can get the Jagdpanther above me. Then instead there's a Panther there, there's an artillery on the other side, we dodge the Panther shell, we put into the back of the Panther, we roll 2 damage too low to be able to finish him off, and instead I want to try and go for the Jagdpanther that's above me. I miss the shot. I turn my attention now towards the artillery that's up there because, oh gosh, I hate artillery, and the artillery is aiming towards me. Can't quite get him. See the Jagdpanthers come down. I react too slowly. He's going to put one into the back of my tank. But at least... Enemy vehicle destroyed. Man, he never had a chance. I do like the way that the commander, I guess Dexter, and who was it? Noodles? Are playing off against each other. I think that's pretty cool. I like that a lot. I like the idea of what Wargaming did with this voice acting, to have the commander and then the other prominent band member, I guess. I don't know who the prominent band members are. I guess he is, because he's the one who has the voice acting. To have Dexter and Noodles kind of playing off against each other is pretty cool. I like it. And I think if Wargaming can do more of this in the future with other... You know what? Why just limit it to bands? Like, surely there are some like cool movie stars that they could manage to get in. I just don't know whether they'd be able to afford it or not. We'll have to see. That'd be quite funny. Can you imagine having like a German heavy tank that's voiced by Arnold Schwarzenegger? Yeah. Yeah, that would be cool. So this was not quite an ace tanker for us, but at least we still get a high caliber and a Confederate medal, 1,263 base experience, nearly 4,000 damage, 2 kills. Don't think we fired many of those special heat rounds that this vehicle has. 102,000 credits profit. So, the Pretty Fly, aka the Offspring tank, aka the TL1 LPC. What do I think about it? Well, I don't even know how much this thing costs. I bought it myself because Wargaming for some reason didn't give it to me because I guess I was away. And then when I came back, I wanted to play it for all of you. So I don't know, probably because I've bought it myself, I can't buy it again. I think it cost me about £35, which is more than most of their Tier 8 premium medium tanks will cost. But then again, it comes with a fancy crew, comes with a fancy paint job, And it also comes with a couple of other things as well, some perks, I think some gold or some premium time that I can't quite remember. Anyway, is it worth it? It totally depends on how much you value a tank like this in World of Tanks. So I'm not really going to talk about it from a money point of view. What I will do is talk about it from a competitive point of view, because that thing I can figure out, and it's the same for everyone about whether it's competitive or not. The alpha damage, I feel like I have more fun playing this than I would do a pilot or a T95E2 from a competitive stance. However, I still feel that even though it's got great heat rounds, the Lansen, with its better DPM and its better alpha damage, just feels fantastic. Sure, you can't snapshot as much in the TL1 LPC. Sure, your armor isn't going to work as well as it does do in the Lansen. You've got better view range. But I think with a good crew and coated optics, it's still going to be enough to be able to get decent view range in the Lansen. Sure, it's not going to be quite as good as the TL1 LPC. And I'd probably rather play the Lansen. Because if I want to play a heavily armored vehicle, and why wouldn't I want to play something just like a T54 Mod 1? I think while the TL1 LPC is great, it's large, it's got bad camo, it has a big profile, which means it's easy to hit, and whether its armor works or not against equal and higher tier opponents is another question, and the amount of tier 6 and tier 7 tanks you see these days is severely limited. The Lansen, on the other hand, never has to worry about its armor because it never depends on its armor, and to be able to go really fast forwards in a straight line with its 28 power to weight ratio, as well as have better DPM and better alpha damage, pretty much the same rate of fire as we can actually see here, but just having that extra 40 alpha on top of the already impressive 280 probably means that I'd rather stick with the tier 8 Swedish premium medium tank. Nevertheless, they're pretty fly, the TL1 LPC, the Offspring tank, whatever you want to call it. Whether it's worth it or not is up to you. It's definitely not overpowered, but I don't think it's underpowered either. So good job to Wargaming for balancing the statistics of this tank. The only thing is questionable really are the heat rounds on the vehicle, and I think that all of the extra features you get with the special voice acting and the fact that the tank does look pretty fly. Ha 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 ha. Get it? Oh dear. Oh god. Did a white guy just say that this tank is pretty fly? I'm done. Anyway, that's it for today, ladies and gents. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. If you did, give it a thumbs up. And if you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And make sure you let me know in the comments what you think about all the voice acting inside this tank. Do you think it's absolutely awful? Do you think it's absolutely awesome? Do you think it's funny? Do you think it's cringe? But to be honest, if you're watching me, your should we say your tolerance for cringe is probably very high already, right? And if you're watching this video as it's released on Sunday, it's time for another World of Tanks Tech Tree Showcase on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. One of my favorite things to do during the week. Why aren't you here for it right now? If you're watching this now, you can come over on this magical website where I stream from tier 1 to tier 10, so you can see what the French tank destroys, the French auto-loading tank destroys, aka the highest burst damage in the game, aka 2,400 damage within 10 seconds of the first shot. It's top of the tree at the moment on the European server, so you can come and figure out whether you should grind your way up it with all of the 5 times shenanigans going on and get the 30% discount on the tank. That's my job, to let you know whether I think that the line is worth it and to try and help you out along the way. Anyway, really looking forward to seeing you all right now, and as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.